Hello, Tribesters. Okay, so this series is all about mindset and about embedding routines as rituals. It's that time of year, and we're all talking about making resolutions. But we want you to do much more than that. We want you to have a full mindset makeover so that you can achieve whatever you want this year. And there's no one better to help us than Mills Gray, who is a coach and a mentor. And she's going to help us explore your mindset, understand your story, your core story. We'll get to that in a bit. And to really get clear on your values. And she's going to talk to us about leadership style, about holistic health and well-being, why that's important for your own performance, and also why it's so important that we slow down. She also is going to take you through the details of an exercise that she calls the core story exercise. And it's a great one. You'll find a PDF document separately so that you can then take some time to do this exercise on your own. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Mills. Hello, Mills. This is such a pleasure to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, so let's get a little bit into detail on who you are and how you got into coaching. So basically your journey so far. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I sort of describe myself a little bit as a rebel because from a very early age, I just knew that I wasn't really cut out for corporate life. I did try it. I left uni. I did a stint working for the Financial Times, which was ridiculous because I failed my maths GCSE, which is like an exam in England. You probably didn't do them. You did something similar. I failed my maths GCSE like 4 times. And then I found myself working for the Financial Times. I was like, what is going on? I did that for a bit, and it did give me a really good insight into business. But I just knew that I wanted to do something different. I'm dyslexic. I think outside the box. And I actually quit London life and became a scuba dive instructor, which was much to my parents' annoyance because they were like, we've spent so much on your education. What are you doing? But doing that, I did it for 4 years, really gave me a sense of freedom and choice. And those are 2 values that I really live strongly by. And so I stopped my scuba diving journey because unfortunately you just can't do it forever. As much as I advocate everybody doing what they love. I met my husband. We kind of were like, oh, we can either be diving parents or we can go and get real, be in the real world. So we came back to the real world, but I was like, there's no way that I am going into working for somebody else. I just knew that I had to work for myself. And I started off running a painting holiday retreat company in Portugal, where my father lived. And then I got into a retail business. I was running a marketplace. Then I got into a wellness business, and I still do that, and I'm in the top 2%. And I realized my skill set was quite good at kind of getting shit done, business opportunities, and saying yes to things. I suppose saying yes to things, saying yes to opportunities. And I really loved my wellness business, and I still do, but I loved the mentorship that came with that. So I retrained initially as a nutritional health coach, which I think we'll talk a little bit about later. But again, because my skill set was this more business focused, I decided to sidestep into leadership coaching. And so here we are today. I've been coaching for 4 years. I've been a mentor for 7 and a business owner for 14. So that's kind of, in a very long-winded nutshell, that's how I got into coaching.
That's amazing. And I love that you started as a scuba diver, and that sort of like made you realize your core values, what some people don't realize actually until much later.
Yeah, and actually it came about through kind of sad circumstances, which something happened in London, and I was like, do you know what, I just need to get out of London. But really it was like this divine intervention from the universe to be like, go do this. And I did it just really because I'd learned to scuba dive like 2 years previously. I was like, oh, that's cool, I enjoyed it. let's just go and do that for a few months. And I just got really immersed into that whole world. But the value side of it is just, I really think it's important to do what you love and love what you do.
By the way, I got the chills as you said that, because it's just like, it's so relevant and so important for all of us to tap into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mills, what's your offer? Like, what do you actually sell and how do you work with your clients, and who are those clients actually?
Yeah, so I do a group coaching program, which I launched in May. I was just working one-on-one with clients. I call them floundering founders, which is just a sort of term of endearment. I think that we can all get to the stage where we have the enthusiasm to potentially be your own boss. So all of my clients work for themselves. But a lot of the time you may be an amazing nutritionist, but you're not brilliant at the business side of things. And so I kind of come in terms of looking at strategy, but also mindset. So I'm massively, massively focused on mindset being really it's the engine of everything. Like, I think you can get strategy, you can learn strategy, and you can implement strategy. But if you don't believe in your idea or yourself, especially, you hit a glass ceiling. And so I think you need the mindset for the strategy to actually really work. In the same breath, I think you can have an amazing mindset and be like, I'm doing this. But if you don't have the strategy, you also hit that glass ceiling. It's different levels that you hit it at. So I like to work in synergy of both being part of my offering. And so I have a group coaching program, which is called Soul Leaders, which is all about leading from the soul. I think that when it comes to business, there's so many different things that are involved. There's so many, even down to, I want to pick my kids up from school. That is part of a business plan in my eyes.
Totally. Sorry, I have to interrupt there, because that's it. You're so right. Having come from a corporate life, many years in the corporate world, and now having my own business, there's certain things that I just think are like, I want to pick my children up. I want to drop them off at school, and my husband and I balance it out. But there's certain things that I'm like, I am my own boss now. And there's certain things that I am making sure are involved in my everyday personal life. And that's the beauty of having your own business.
Completely. And I genuinely think it should be part of your strategy.
Yeah.
To be like, this is what I want. This is part of, it's in my goals. It's in my vision. I don't want to compromise on that. It may not be picking your kids up from school. It may be going to the gym every day, or eating out, whatever it is, that has to be part of it. So that soul leadership is actually everything that goes into leadership, but really from where it comes from is that kind of what
almost like, how do you want to live your life?
Yeah.
What are important things that you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month, and
exactly
that into your strategy? Exactly.
And I think that there's a lot of that kind of cookie cutter, this is how you are successful. And I think that I like people to build a business that aligns with their vision, not somebody else's vision. So that's the important part.
Okay. And so you've talked about your founders. A lot of what we'll talk about, though, will also apply to people who work in corporate life, or they work for other people.
Yes, absolutely. Because ultimately you might work for somebody else, but still have the same issues going on. You want to be successful. You want to climb the ladder, or you want to be a form of success, however you define that. And there's things that aren't working strategy wise and mindset wise. So it works for somebody who is also an employee. The drive might be a little bit different, but again, it sort of depends on what people's vision and values and idea of what they want to do with their life. So, yeah.
And then how would you measure success with your clients?
It's really interesting, because everybody's level of success, some people think success is 6-7 figures. Some people think success is being able to pick your kids up from school. For me, mine is completely and utterly freedom and choice. If I have choice to go and do things, I am successful. I don't necessarily need to have 10, 20K a month. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to turn it down.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. But actually success is, if I feel like going for a coffee with my friend, or if I feel like going for a walk, or if I feel like going away for a month, I can do that. And so that is my driving force for success. For others, it could be a financial push. It could be a title, a status push. But for me, it's to do with just choice and freedom.
Yeah. So basically, based on who your client is, what they actually deem as success, it's individual.
Absolutely. And we cover that off because I think it's important for them to understand that my level of success is completely different to theirs, and that's okay.
Yeah. Now on your website, I love this, you have a leadership style quiz.
Yes.
So can you talk us through the different types of styles you see and what that indicates and how someone could actually use it to achieve their individual success?
So the reason I did this is, first of all, I think everyone loves a quiz. Everyone wants to know, what am I like?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And I think that there are so many amazing qualities in leadership that come to the table that will help you and propel you, but also some of those things might also hold you back. So it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, fun way of kind of seeing where you sit. And I categorized it into you've got like the hustle leader, you have the achiever leader, the careful leader, and the intuitive leader. Hustle, is all about go, go, go. They're goal getters. They kind of don't really mind sacrificing everything to get to that end point. And they usually have an incredible work ethic, but they might occasionally miss the point of perhaps those moments of joy. And so we focus a little bit on that. And it's just really understanding that there are times when you can take that breath, or I know a lot of hustlers who aren't successful. They are still hustling and they're not able to live the life that they wanted to do. So hustle doesn't equal success. I suppose that's the main one. Achiever leaders, they're plate spinning, they manage lots of things. They might have perfectionism that is creeping in, and that can often stop you from doing things. I always think that done is better than perfect. So in that sense, it's about learning to lean in on actually action, as opposed to talking around it all the time and making sure it's amazing. Careful leaders, they're people orientated, they're doers, they've got a good work ethic, but they might be a bit risk averse. And then intuitive leader, I tend to work with a lot of intuitive leaders. That is a fun way of saying, they want everything to be aligned spiritually. They might be leading with the heart. They trust the universe. They ask the universe for what it is that they want. And that's great. But sometimes they have that business head in the sand and they don't like charging, and they may not have as much business savvy. So it's a way of looking a little bit on having a nice balance, knowing that you can do something you love and get paid for it. So those are my kind of leaders. But really it's a fun way to just have awareness and recognize where you're at.
Yeah, I love that. And I can sort of identify with each one of those at different points in my career.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And with all of them comes results. It's not like one is better than the other. That's the main thing. It's just different skills that we all need to learn, what is our skill set, but also what that might bring to the table in a not so positive way.
Yeah. And I guess you can use that then if you have a team, what your leadership style is, where the pitfalls are, and then make sure when you're hiring other people in, that you're actually complementing.
That's such a good point.
Skills.
That's such a good point, because I'm a hustler. I always have been. It's just, that's me. I like stuff done immediately. When it's not, I'm kind of like, what are they doing? And so it's nice to have that balance. I'm not organized, whereas I work with, my PA, she does all of my organizing. I'm like, thank God for her, because she's the organizing leadership part of my business.
Okay, so you're also trained in integrated nutrition.
Yes.
Which this is great, because when we talk about well-being within conscious working and tribe or membership, we talk about mind, body, planet. Mind, body, planet, and that it's everything taken together. Well-being is holistic, and nutrition is one area that we bring in. So I wanted to talk about this and your interest in holistic health and well-being, and how that actually plays into someone's leadership.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mean, really, it's key, because without health, what do we have? We're not here, we're not there, you know, we're struggling with other issues. So although I don't really coach on it anymore, I really do coach on the holistic side of being able to get a good morning routine in, being able to appreciate nature, to calm the mind, you know, using lots of a holistic approach to not having burnout or feeling anxious. And so, you know, diet comes into it, because everything that goes on in our body really comes from the gut. So as long as you're, you know, aware of that. But again, it's like, it's working out what works for some. And I think that is what taught me. But when I did the nutrition coaching course, it taught me that one size doesn't fit all. And that is the same with leadership. You know, it's like the different styles of leadership. There's different styles of how to manage holistic health. And so this one size doesn't fit all is like, okay, cool, I get it. You know, what might be work for me might be someone else's poison, you know? So it's the same in leadership, and it's finding what works for you, but being aware, again, this awareness piece, you have to have awareness that there are other things that can contribute to your working life without you necessarily thinking that that is part of it.
And we get that awareness by being still. At least that's my opinion. If you like
Yeah.
to take a little bit of time to slow down,
Yes.
and like have that pause, then we can start to see things in a new way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stillness. I'm also going back to the rebel side of me. Like I read this book, I'm sure you've read it, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Actually a morning person. I also love the 5 a.m. club, but I wake up at 5:45. So
Okay,
I'm
cool.
okay with mornings and morning
Yeah.
routines.
Yeah, I wake up at 5:55 and I go running, which at the moment I'm doing with head torches. It's like, the thing is I love the concept of it, but also the rebel side of me is like, you don't need to do it exactly how they do it. And I think that can be, for some, they're like, I have to do it exactly how I'm being told, or it's not going to work. So it's about understanding that, actually, do you know what? I don't write a gratitude list because I feel like I'm doing lines. I'm like, no way, I'm not doing it. I was doing it for a year, like writing in this book, and I resented doing it. I was like, oh God, I got to do my gratitude. I was like, that is not the point of it. And so
That is so funny you say that. Sorry, I'm interrupting now, because that's so funny you say that, because I was recently doing my gratitude list and I'm like, am I even actually thinking about this, or I'm doing it, or am I just writing it?
I mean,
and I think part of it is like, oh, I'm just getting it done.
Completely. I think and that's where I sat. But I think that there can be so many, you know, I'm so grateful when I see like a little robin in a tree. I'm like, oh, look at that. And that fills me
Put in the moment.
Yeah. So I think you can take bits and implement them into your life, but fit them around what works for you.
Yep. And this idea of slowing down, because you mentioned burnout, and burnout is definitely on the rise. I went through my own story of burnout, which is the reason that I launched Conscious Working, which is why then Tribe has spun off the back of it. And there's a huge amount of stress in the workplace. It was there before COVID, but obviously the pandemic has created more uncertainty. So why is it so important for us to slow down?
Well, I mean, on every level, again, going back to that health, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything else. So I think, again, it's important to figure out, what does success look like to you? What are the things that are important? You know, I work with many women who were high achievers in their careers, and then they started a family, and then they've started their own business. And with that brings its own challenges, because they aren't where some might have left that, like yourself, left that because they were almost at burnout or hit burnout, and they don't want to do that again. And others face burnout again because they're like, I'm not good at this, I need to learn it, I need to do this. And they're that, you know, high achiever. And so again, it's like, really work out, what are your values, what is important to you, what does your ideal day look like, you know, write that down. If you could create the perfect business, what does the perfect day look like, and try and stick to it, so that you're being aware of when you're getting off track and going into those old habits of do, rather than, we need to rest and recuperate. You know, that is part of our nervous system. You know, we have fight or flight, rest and recuperate. And it's like, it's the same in, just mirrors everything. Same in business, same in health. You just got to make sure that you're having that awareness piece around it.
Now you have an exercise for us, the core story exercise. I would love to hear a bit about this.
Yeah, so I think everybody will get sent it, but I wanna just do like a little example of perhaps what I teach and what I do. So I want you first of all to really kind of have a look to yourself inwards about what you want your life to be like, what you want your business to be like. If you don't work for yourself, then it can be you're working for somebody else, but get really clear on what it is that you want, because I think part of the reason that we don't always achieve what we want is that we're not super clear on it. Okay. And I'm going to be really sort of blunt. But if you haven't reached where you want to be, the chances are is that it could be down to you. Because I think it's awful to say, but you are probably an expert in whatever it is that you do. But you will let fear come in and set you off track. And that fear can look different to everybody. But it can be stepping out of our comfort zone. It could be fear of speaking, public speaking, or it could be fear of sharing a post, or it could be doubting yourself, not believing in yourself. And so I often see mistakes that my clients make is letting our belief system work against us. So I call it sitting in the red zone. And that is, we're not taking ownership of what it is that's blocking us. And we get in our own way. And that belief system is what we're going to look at with the core story. Another mistake is worrying too much about the others, what other people are going to think of me. And I think everybody could probably relate to this. But if we don't have the tools to overcome those fears, then we just stop and we don't move forward. And then we don't grow, we stop, we quit. And that's not serving anybody. And often we're doing that for the sake of somebody else who we might not even know. I mean, that's the crazy thing. We might not even know them. They might just be like some random person. And then the third mistake is not valuing what you do. So therefore, you might be giving things away. You might be on a salary that you're not happy with. And so those are three of the kind of three mistakes that I look at. We've talked about that awareness piece. Being aware is so important, but being aware without judgment. Okay, because sometimes we can get awareness and then we start judging ourselves about what it is, and we, get our judgy pants on and start criticizing ourselves. So it's about that awareness without the judgment. And so that is, I believe that everything, confidence, being able to speak, I think all of these things can be learned. Yeah. So I think it's Malcolm, I've forgotten his name. Malcolm Gladwell has the 10,000 hour rule. Yeah. So it's about practicing and practicing. So repetition and being comfortable with doing that repetition is going to help you to gain more confidence. I don't believe that you're born with confidence. I think there are certainly people whose personality type might lean more towards a confident personality type, but I think you can learn confidence. And I want to say, like J.K. Rowling, she was rejected 12 times for her Harry Potter series before she got accepted by a publisher. So she let somebody else's no, somebody else's, I don't think this is a great idea. If she'd listened to that, there wouldn't be Harry Potter. I mean, can you imagine a world without Harry Potter? Kentucky Fried Chicken, which I'm not a massive fan of. However, it's a big brand, it's a big name. Everybody knows Kentucky Fried Chicken. That dude tried 1,009 times for the Kentucky Fried Chicken to be franchised. 1,009. And so imagine again, if he had gone, that consistent, no, this isn't for me. No, your chicken's not good. No, I don't like it. No, 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 no. If he'd listened and gone, oh, I'm going to take that no, there would be no Kentucky Fried Chicken. The point of this, of using those people as examples is that they had that belief in themselves. They had that belief that what their idea or their writing or their recipe was something that they needed to share, and they didn't let somebody else's opinion put them off track. I listened to an incredible female explorer, and she's called Felicity Aston, and she crossed the Antarctica on her own. And each day she would question herself, would she be able to do it? And she said, you know, it was -40 conditions. She spent nights in her tent on her own thinking, you know, I'm just going to press the exit button and someone's going to fly in and get me out of here. She had negative self-talk, like literally running around her, that she wasn't good enough, that this wasn't going to work. She, you know, she wasn't that person. And she was so prepared to give up. But before she would give up and make that phone call, she would run through in her mind people who told her that she wasn't mentally tough enough or physically strong enough. And then she would go back and think of teachers who told her that she wouldn't amount to much. And she sat there in that space. And she said it wasn't about proving them that they were right. It was about proving to herself that she was the person that she knew she was. She knew herself better than anybody else. And I listened to that and I was like, that is so important. That is so, you have to go inwards. You are the author of your story, not anybody else. And so, you know, that is something that I would say, is that our beliefs are really nothing more than stories. They're stories that we tell ourselves. They're a bunch of thoughts that we have, good or bad, and we then weave the narrative that makes up life. And in every moment of our lives, we tend to kind of tell ourselves a story that either propels us forwards or it holds us back. Okay, so when you realize that a belief is a story, I want you to get into the habit of thinking, well, who's the author? Who's the author of that story? And the answer is, it's you. Yeah, you are the author. So I learned a little kind of, I don't know how to describe it, 4-step process. It's a formula of how to transform your belief system. And it's circumstances equals stories, which equals feelings, which equals action. So the circumstances are the facts. These tend to be fairly neutral. They might be family dynamics. They might be where you live. They might be your age, your job title. Those are circumstances, they're facts. The stories are the beliefs that we interpret things. So we interpret it in one or two ways. So we've got negative or positive, and we do that automatically. I want you to become aware of what is your automatic story at the moment. And the story that we tell ourselves is super important because it impacts how we feel. And then the feelings are focusing on that positive or focusing on that negative. And our feelings then directly impact our action. So if we feel like shit, we're probably not going to do something. If we feel great, then we probably will. So over time, those actions create our results. And so what I want you to kind of understand, or the thing that really highlighted for me, was your action doesn't come from anything other than your story and your beliefs. So it's like going back a couple of layers. Doesn't matter. You can be doing, it's like the people I said, they hustle, but they're not successful. Why is that? They're doing the work. So why aren't they where they want to be? And it's not because of the action. It's not lack of action. It's definitely not lack of action. It's lack of belief. It's that story they're telling themselves. So that could be like picking up the phone and going, oh, do you know what? This person's never going to buy from me. And then the person doesn't buy from you because that's the story you're telling yourself. So the exercise is about changing your core story. And I want you to take time to do it and spend some time. Energy and intention is such a critical concept in business because it helps you attract the right people into your life. Okay, so what creates that energy and intention are the stories we tell ourselves. So you just have to keep focusing on the actions, thinking that, you just keep focusing on the actions, thinking that's the solution. But the problem is you have to go back a level and think of that story. Okay, so what story are you telling yourself? And I split them into like red and green: fear, love, happy, sad, negative, positive, whatever channel you want to think about it. For me, it's like red zone, green zone. Okay, so the red zone is that fear stories. negative interpretations of your circumstances. Oh, I can't do that because of this. I'm never going to be able to do that. You think of the language that goes along with the fear stories is always lack. It's always can't, no, not going to work, poor me. There's all of that. Whereas the kind of love side is abundant. It's it's worthiness, it's capable, it's accepting, it's taking responsibility and ownership. And so when you do this exercise and you look at your core stories, you then become aware that you can start to change that story. You are the author. You are the person who creates your life. And I'm going to finish it. I want you to do the exercise. I want to hear how it goes. So please let me know. But I want to tell you about the bumblebee. Okay, so might be quite random. But NASA Space Center has a picture of the bumblebee. And underneath this fuzzy bumblebee, it says, the aerodynamic body of the bumblebee is not fit to fly. But it's good that the bumblebee doesn't know about it. Okay, so in the law of physics, the aerodynamic tail says that the wings are just too small to keep up the massive, fluffy bumblebee in flight. But the bee doesn't know this, okay, just knows nothing about physics, knows nothing about the poster telling everyone. It just flies because the bee believes it can fly, like it knows it can fly. It was born to fly. So imagine if the bee wants to hear about the law of physics, imagine if she was defined by that narrative that she couldn't fly. Would she fly? Would she be like, I can't fly, I'm not going to fly? So it's the same in our life. So this is indicative. Sometimes our limitations might be passed down to us from generations. We might inherit them, or we create them through our own imagination. But once we break through those limits, we can really rise and see life through a different eye. So be more bumblebee. Just be more bumblebee. And that is the story of the bumblebee.
I love that story, and I love that whole exercise. So everyone will be receiving the PDF document of the core story, so you can all complete it on your own. Mills, how can people get in touch with you? Because obviously they're all going to do the core story, and then they're going to reach out to update you on.
Yeah, please do, because I'd love to hear how it goes. And something a bit kooky at the end of it is, once you've written out your story, is to burn it. Okay, burn the old story. Not only is it it's like symbolic, but it's cathartic. You're like, God damn it, I'm getting rid of that. You can find me, do you know what? The best is Instagram, which is mills_gray, which is GRAY. My website is millsgray.com, but Instagram really is the place that I hang out most. Feel free to connect with me. Feel free to drop me a message. If you've got something that you want to chat further, feel free. I'm always open to connecting and networking. That's kind of
always open to chatting. You love it. Chat.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your time. And yes, Instagram I know is best place for you, and also have really good content on your Instagram. So people should, no matter what, start following you.
Awesome.
But thank you for your time. This is so relevant to not just, people, founders, entrepreneurs. This is also so relevant for all of you that are working in corporate jobs and sort of thinking about, where do you want to take your career and what are your next steps?
100%. And actually, you know what, even in like family life, like relationships, travel, like it's about that owning your shit, owning your life, owning it.
And with that, we're going to end it. Own your shit, guys.
Own your shit.
Thanks, Mills. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Bye.
Bye.